So yeah, New Perspectives Japan, NPJ, welcome again to our info session. I know you're all really eager to get back to Japan and maybe just a little bit curious about what that could possibly even look like right now. So we wanted to have an info session today to tell you a little bit about, so the program itself and kind of what we're doing to plan for summer 2021. I know that we had people signed up. We've got some veterans signed up with us. We've got some people that are actually deferred for next year and already kind of signed up to join us for next year. And then some other newcomers were signed up as well. So we'll talk about the details of the program itself, as well as some of those kind of contingency plans and something like that. And then at the end, as I was saying, we'll open up for questions. And also, we want to hear from you. We know that a lot of the school administrations are going to be a little bit hesitant to sign up for a program like this right now. And so if you can share with us what you think we could do to help you to make something like this possible, we would love to hear that. We want this to be a solution for you to try to bring your students to Japan, because we all know just exactly how beneficial that can be for their education. So why don't we go ahead and kind of launch into it here. Sam, if you could give us the next slide, please. So the tour dates for this year, June 10th to June 24th will be Tour 1, July 1st to July 15th will be Tour 2. So the opening day of Summer Olympics, which is another question that we get a lot, is July 25th. That's 10 days after the end of Tour 2. At this point, we have everything all block booked as far as the hotels. So we are actually really not concerned about the Olympics playing any kind of interfering role in our tours. Yeah, it's well enough after. We've got enough of a buffer zone that we're not particularly concerned about that. Everything should work pretty smoothly. And as I said, we've already got our bookings too. So that should be pretty simple on our side. The program itself kind of comes in 3 different phases. First is when the teachers and students choose their study theme. We have proprietary curricula that we share with you before you even get to Japan. And you can cover this material in the classrooms based on the theme of your choosing. These curricula are pretty flexible, so if you have some students that are going and some students that aren't going, you can use the curriculum all the same. It doesn't just have to be something targeted towards the students that are going to be going. However, the students that do then get to go on to that second phase, the actual trip to Japan, that's where they really activate that knowledge. That's where the knowledge that they learned about in the classroom really comes alive in front of their eyes. And they get to do the home stays and the school stays, the school visits, and really experience what they've been learning about in reality for the first time. And then there's follow-on activities where they can really sort of critically process the information that they've gotten. And that's what really solidifies this new information in their heads and really keeps that really strong educational component that makes NPJ a study tour as opposed to just some simple vacation. Vacations are nice. I'd love to take a vacation in Japan right now, but that's not what this program is. We really want this to be a very educationally focused thing. So the cost is $41.75 per student. If you get 8 students signed up, then it's free for the lead teacher. And then every student after that is an additional $500 off an additional chaperone. So for example, if you got 16 students signed up, then you and then 1 other chaperone could go for free. We do actually have one other option. It's for unaffiliated students, Ronin we're calling them. So if you have a student that's really interested in going, but you simply can't sign up for the trip this coming year or any year, then you can recommend that they contact us and sign up as an unaffiliated student. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on, but that's another really great option for you. Scholarships, the Jackson Bailey Scholarship can cover up to half of the total price of the trip for a student. But the students have to demonstrate financial need and academic merit as well, but that's certainly an option. The application deadline this year, we've pushed it back, January 30th, 2021. Anybody that's been around with us before, you know that's almost 2 months later, I believe. I know that this year is going to be a little bit of a wait and see thing for some people. You're going to have parents that are concerned and students that don't really know if it's going to be possible for them. So that's why we pushed this whole thing back, to give you more time to think about it, talk about it with your families, talk about it with the school administration, see what's possible for you. So January 30th is the deadline that we're going to use this year. Sam? And with the program fee, the kind of support that you get is comprehensive pre-departure handbook that gives you everything that you need to know about the upcoming trip before you go, bilingual staff in the United States and Japan before, during, and after the trip. We're here to help at any point, the whole process. 24/7 emergency line in the United States for parents and families if anything comes up during the trip, as well as another line in Japan for the participants during the tours if anything comes up. Laurasian staff stay in the hotel, so we're always close. We're always around to help if any kind of problems pop up. Laurasian staff can assist with anything like, any kind of hospital or clinic visits that might pop up, any kind of problems that pop up like that. We had a lost passport, I believe, just a couple years ago. We had one staff member go all the way to the embassy to get a new passport issued and took them back to the tour. We're there to help. If the program has to be canceled, Laurasian will then take on all of the responsibility for canceling with the host schools, the hotels, the airlines, all of that. Dealing with all the refund payments or deferment options, whatever the decision may be. We will take care of all of that. I know that was a big problem for a lot of teachers last year that went into trips, personal trips that they had planned, and then had to cancel everything at the last minute. Trying to get refunds for parents and students was a nightmare. If you sign up with us, we'll take care of all of that for you. And then sort of continuing on with the idea of if things have to be canceled, here's what we're thinking right now as far as contingency plans. So our policy has always been that in the unlikely event that Laurasian has to cancel the NPJ program, all payments will be refunded. That's standard across all of the Laurasian programs, but also our sister organization PACS. If there's a reason why the program can't happen, you are not going to be financially responsible for it. That's entirely refundable at that point. If there's going to be a 2-week quarantine required at the time of the tour, then we'll just have to cancel it, unfortunately. And so again, that falls into that first category of Laurasian having to cancel the program. Obviously, you can't do a tour if everybody's just trapped in hotel rooms for 2 weeks. So unfortunately, if they're still requiring that at that time, that's what we'll do. However, with the Olympics scheduled later on, in July, I honestly don't think that that's going to be the case this year. So no student, teacher, or chaperone will be allowed onto the program or indeed into Japan if they test positive for COVID-19. Currently, they're rapid testing everybody that enters the country. You even have to have a test before you depart, but they test everybody even when they enter. And so by merit of the fact that the Japanese government is enacting this right now, nobody would even be able to get onto the program if they tested positive for COVID-19. Actually, Bradley has gone through this experience directly himself a couple of times. Bradley, if you'd like to speak just a little bit about how the process goes, maybe that could clarify just a little bit about the practices.
Yeah, I've been in and out 3 times so far since COVID's been going on. And I can tell you the process gets better each time. So this most recent trip, which was just, I returned on Monday. So 10 days before that, about 20 days ago, I did one of these tests where they take your saliva instead of the swab. So much better, so much nicer. My previous trips required the swab, and I can tell you that that's not necessarily a comfortable thing. So it's really pretty painless and effortless. You do have to wait for the test to be finalized, and of course right now there's not a lot of travelers, so of course it did not take very long. It took me about half an hour, but of course as there will be more travelers eventually, then you can assume that there will be more of a wait time. That all said, again, just as Gabriel already noted, the Olympics are coming up, and so as they move toward the Olympic period, they're going to have to be making some difficult decisions about whether they continue or don't. And if they decide to continue, then obviously it's not going to be feasible for them to test every person that's coming to Japan for the Olympics. So at some point they will have to make a determination as to whether they're going to continue this process or not. And my guess is that by the time we're going, they will probably not be continuing to do testing on site. They may still be requiring some kind of confirmation, but that may simply be in the form of people saying that they don't have any kind of symptoms or this kind of thing, declaring that in advance. We'll just have to wait and see.
Thank you, Bradley. I'm sorry, I didn't really properly introduce you. I think probably everybody knows, but Bradley Smith is our CEO, and yeah, so he's pretty knowledgeable about the situation over there, and it's definitely our responsibility to remain knowledgeable about everything that's going on. Undoubtedly, the regulations are going to change, but Japan is famously risk averse. And in this case, that's a very good thing. That's going to ensure the fact that, you know, the program's not going to even be possible to take place if it's not safe to do so. And so whatever policies are in place at the time of the trip, you know, it will be our obligation to be in strict compliance. And so we absolutely plan to be in strict compliance. At very minimum, we will expect participants and staff to wear masks while at the host school, traveling, and in public. And daily temperature checks, social distancing, and regular hand washing have been the norm in Japanese schools since June. They've been doing a really good job of that. So I anticipate things on that side should be relatively clean by the time that we actually get over there. Any other thoughts on that, Bradley, before we kind of move on?
No, I mean, all these kinds of things are going to be a wait and see sort of situation. We'll have to see how things play out.
Thank you.
I will have been back and forth at least four more times by then. So, so we'll know a lot of information about it.
We'll be aware.
Yeah.
Okay, and I realize there probably are some specific questions about this, and everybody, if you could maybe just hold on to those till the end, we'll try to have more of a discussion and Q&A session when we finish covering some more of the program details at the end of this session. So please hold on to those right now. I appreciate you sort of being patient with us on that, but please let us cover some additional details before we start the conversation with you. At that, I think I want to throw it over to Sam. She's got some more details to share.
Yeah, thank you, Gabe. So like we were saying, this is a very unusual year, and also on our end, we have had some pretty exciting developments. We wanted to announce that we have a brand new online application portal. For those of you, many of you, I guess, who have participated with us before, you'll remember we've had a series of different WUFU forms that you needed to fill out in order to apply for NPJ. That's all gone, and now we have a custom online platform. It's very simple, very clean and easy to use. One of my favorite features actually, and playing around with it, is that you can go in, create your account, leave it for a couple days and come back and add your information at your own pace at any time. You can also very easily upload your own photos of yourself or your family, as well as photos of your passport photo page. And any documents you can easily access through that portal, download it for yourself, and submit it to us. We also have simplified the study day tour selection, which previously was also its own WUFU form. That will be all integrated on the website. And you can view also the application status of your group at a glance. And so if you are waiting, if you're not sure who has submitted their passport, you can go to your group dashboard and see very clearly which of your students still needs to submit that, who hasn't submitted their first payments yet, etc. And it's also mobile compatible, which is, I think, going to be a godsend perhaps for a lot of students, since they'll be able to complete their applications on the mobile app as well, including uploading photos directly on their phone for their passport images. Of course, some documents will still, at this point, need to be hard copy. But the goal is to eventually digitize the whole process, so that is smooth, really easy, very user-friendly, and we're very excited to be launching this for this year. Yeah, so we'll just kind of jump a little bit into, since I know a lot of you already know this, but for anyone who doesn't, I just want to pivot into our tours and what we actually do while we're in Japan. As you know, it is a 2-week tour. Day 1 is your departure from the United States. And of course, it might, depending on your location, it might take a little bit longer to get to that gateway airport. And that's a full day of travel to Japan, as you may know. You'll land in Tokyo on day 2 and transfer to the hotel via charter bus, where there will be an orientation. Day 3 and 4, of course, is like what everyone's excited about. It's the study tour days. And as I mentioned in the previous slide, we've updated that whole study tour process, so you can make this personalized group itinerary on our new web application. Very easy to use, and you'll have 2 days to take your students around the Tokyo area. for the first portion of the trip. Day 5, you'll travel to your host community, and of course, depending on where your host school is located, that could be via regular commuter train, it could be via Shinkansen, it could be via plane. But your luggage, your large suitcases will be transported separately by Japan Post. So that kind of gets you to your host community, and then you'll spend roughly 6 to 7 days at your doing a homestay. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little while. But this is sort of the place where, as Gabe was saying, like a lot of that knowledge about Japan really becomes activated because there's that immersion component where they not only live with a Japanese host family, but they also participate in school activities. After the homestay, they'll travel to Kyoto and have a half-day afternoon to explore the city. Again, this half-day exploration, and then the day 13 and 14 exploration of the Kyoto and Kansai region. Those are customizable via the study day tour selections that you'll be able to do on the new web application. And then finally, all good things, as they say, must come to an end. So day 15 is returning to the US via one of the 2 international airports in the Kansai region. That's a very sort of like bare bones overview of what the tour looks like on paper, and what that looks like in practice is, you know, a lot of the sort of experience of Japan that you can get, of course, out of a trip, but because there's been this sort of buildup of learning and deeper understanding, the experience becomes a lot more meaningful and a lot more solidified, not just as a piece of knowledge, but also like something that they have felt, the students have experienced. And I think one of the components that we feel very strongly about is that that 7 days homestay experience. And so to talk a little bit more about that, I would like to invite Anne Jordan, one of our colleagues. She's also the president-elect of AATJ, the American Association of Teachers of Japanese. And she will talk a little bit more about the importance of this homestay experience. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Anne.
Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, I have to say that, like, it's not a disclaimer, but since I represent AATJ, this is separate from AATJ. But I've never traveled with or taken students with NPJ, actually. However, I am a veteran of many years of traveling with students, both kinds of travel, you know, trips that included a homestay and a school visit, and a couple of trips that did not include them. And they, you know, they both have benefits, but one is just over and above, you know, the other. So I kind of want to talk about, I just want to, you know, talk about that a little bit. But the first thing I want to do is just get an idea. How many of you, if you just raise your hand, it sounds like some of you are NPJ, you've traveled with students with NPJ in the past. How many of you have, if you could raise your hand? Oh, okay, all right. And so that means all of you know the benefits of the homestay component. So I probably don't have to do too much selling on that, but let me just first say, my first experience taking students to Japan was based on looking at your photos, except for Bradley. I think most of you might not have been born. It was 35 years ago. We didn't go by ship, you know, we had like airplane travel, you know, and all that. But even that one had a homestay component. And I didn't, there were no, that I knew of, there weren't any programs that did that for you. So just like a lot of Japanese teachers, I cobbled together my own trip, you know, booked the flight, made the arrangements with the school and with homestays using, you know, via relatives and friends in Japan. And, you know, because I was a lot younger than I am now, I wasn't even thinking about all the challenges, because, you know, when you're that young, you're like, yes, let's do it. So that was the first time. And then in the last, in intervening 35 years, I have traveled many, many times with students, almost always with a homestay component and a school visit, like NPJ. But the reason that I didn't travel with NPJ is because I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, Northern California area, and the organization I've worked with for many years is kind of a local, you know, it's very Bay Area, and so I had a relationship with them. But if I were doing this now, and I'm no longer teaching, but if I were wanting to get started, especially now in this difficult, you know, kind of challenging time, I just listening to what Gabriel was saying about the, you know, all those things that we're worried about and you're most worried about, even though you're experienced travelers with students, you know, it seems like I would have to probably, I might have to book an MPJ trip, or at least think about it, and because of all the assurances and the, you know, the low risk part of it. So there are two kinds of trips, and I've done both. And like I said, they have benefits, but the tour-only one, that addresses the student interest and motivation. They get excited, but it's kind of like appetizer, you know, that's very tasty. And when you're in it, you know, but it doesn't last a long time. And then the homestay component addresses the same things, you know, interest, motivation, the opportunity to be immersed in the culture, but it's missing, but it adds something much greater, which is that connection component that lasts in many cases, as if you may have had this experience where your students have maintained the connection with their host families over many years, you know, after high school. Maybe their students, their host sister or host brother came to visit them. So those are sort of that's less tangible, and it's longer term benefit, but it's really, really, it just makes it so much deeper. And then I want to talk about the connection to program advocacy, which was not the reason that I started taking students to Japan. And it may not have been the reason that you got involved in this. You know, most of us just want to share our Japan with the students that we teach. But what happens is that program advocacy is actually another benefit that maybe that wasn't your motivation to do this, but it's a benefit that happens as a result of it, because your program has a brand, or it develops a brand, and that brand can be positive, you know, like the different things that brand, sorry about that. Okay, my timer. So how you teach, you know, engaging teaching, that's, you know, that you have a reputation for that. It gets out in the community. If you've been teaching for a few years, you start to see the siblings of students that you taught, you know, and if the program has a positive reputation, it kind of, you know, you just need to, you just keep on going with that. Every Japanese teacher says, my students, you all have this experience of your students bonding. They feel like a family, you know, and that's because you are often the only Japanese teacher at your school, or maybe, you know, one of two. And so the students stay together for 3 years, 4 years, and often you have them for the entire time, or at least for most of the time. So there's a really strong connection that you have. That becomes part of your brand. Shared experiences that you have outside of the classroom and inside the classroom. So when you take students to Japan, or if you yourself can, I heard Gabriel was talking about the Ronin option, you know, if you are able to provide opportunities for your students to travel to Japan, and it happens fairly regularly, you know, maybe not every year, but maybe every couple of years, that starts to become part of that identified, you know, becomes identified with your program. Or if you aren't able to take groups, but you have students who want to go and you help facilitate that, you know, that can also become part of your, you know, student says, well, you know, if I take Japanese from so-and-so sensei, I might be able to go to Japan because, you know, my teacher can help me find some programs, so NPJ or, you know, various other ones. So it really, I think it really links to advocacy and program promotion. It can anyways, and become a really positive part of your program. And we are, and I'm gonna wrap it up, but this year in particular, we're starting to see on my end a lot of concerns about some programs that are in jeopardy, and that's a kind of a concern with us at AETJ. Teachers are saying, you know, my program might get cut, or they're reducing it, you know, and then so things that can keep your program going, such as the opportunity to travel, or the that can help with sustaining, you know, keeping the program going. So, anyways, tour is great, but tour plus homestay plus school, way better. That's my message.
Thank you very much, Anna. I appreciate that. Yeah, with all disclaimers firmly in place. But yeah, no, I couldn't agree more about that homestay being such an important element. I was lucky enough to get to do 2 different homestays in the time that I was just in high school. And yeah, no, I'm still in touch with both of those families, and they're both experiences that I'll carry with me forever. And I know that also benefited, well, so not my homestays in particular, but my Japanese program in high school was, yeah, exactly what you were describing. We, the students, knew it as that class that you could take that'll send you to Japan. And so we were all passionate about it, and we talked about it. And I think that that's definitely something that other parents and even the administrators are aware of, is what classes are the students actually passionate about, and sort of being able to ignite that in students is a really powerful tool for sure. Anne told us that she might have to get running before we finish this up. So Anne, if you got to go, please feel free to go at any time, but I'll maybe take it over from here.
Thanks, Anne.
Oh, you're muted. Anne, you're muted.
Okay, there. Anyways, I was just saying thank you, and I wish you the best. And 失礼します.
Thank you very much, Anne.
Okay.
So we'll try to sort of speed through some of this other information as, so I know we have a bunch of veterans with us, but we are recording this for others. So we will hit this stuff, but we'll try to be kind of quick with it. The homestay conditions, so participants are placed in homes with host brothers or sisters, typically from the host school, or possibly even teachers or even community members, depending on kind of what's available. In some situations, the host schools will put maybe 2 students into the same home, and that's actually been pretty fun for the students that have done that in the past. You know, they might sound a little bit like, oh, really? They're going to be together with that guy? But then they end up having a great time, is what we hear when they come back. The students become like a member of the family. It's really, as Anne was saying, it's an incredible experience and a great opportunity for cultural immersion and language immersion. It's not just a vacation. It's definitely a life-changing experience. Next slide, please. So outside of the homestay, the other 2 places where we stay, the Sakura Hotel Nippori is where they stay in Tokyo, and then the Kyoto Tokyo Hotel when they go to Kyoto. The students will stay 2 to 3 students per room. They've got a private bathroom there. Teachers will get their own individual rooms. There's free Wi-Fi. There's laundromats so they can do laundry. They're Japanese style rooms at the Tokyo Hotel once they've just arrived in Japan and they're having the fun new experience of, you know, sleeping in the futon on the tatami and having a good time with it. And then by the time they get to Kyoto, it's Western style rooms. By the point they're a little bit tired of sleeping on the floor, perhaps. So kind of a good balance there. Next slide, please. The program fees cover pre-departure materials, the entire airfare from start to finish, airfare transfers in Japan included, accommodations in Tokyo and Kyoto, breakfast stipend and dinners during the study days. The host families will provide breakfast and dinners during the home stays. Host families provide transportation from Tokyo to the host community to Kyoto. All the sightseeing in Tokyo and Kyoto, that's all included, the transportation fees and the entrance fees, with the exception of the Ghibli Museum and the Tokyo Skytree. There's a separate fee associated with those. All the cultural exploration activities, homestays, school visits, your IC cards, and all the transportation, everything that you need to get on and off the trains and stuff like that. That's all totally covered. What is not covered is transportation from the home to the US departure airport. So the students will need to get themselves to the airport, or maybe you'll meet in advance. We can help maybe arrange if there needs to be a bus or something like that, but there might be a separate associated fee with that. Insurance, that's definitely another very important element, and we can talk quite a bit more about the insurance coverage and the requirements there, but that's another thing that's not covered in the program fee. Lunches, they'll need to bring some pocket money to pay for those lunches or snacks, drinks. Japan's very hot in the summer, and they'll definitely want to use those vending machines. Actually, when I did that first homestay that I was talking about when I was in high school, I had my little disposable camera, and I took like 24 pictures of vending machines. My parents were so mad at me. They were like, why didn't you get any good pictures? I loved the vending machines. I don't know. So they'll definitely want to be able to use those. During the homestay portion, meals that are eaten outside of the home, or transportation, entertainment, that kind of stuff that they'll do with the host family, they should be prepared to kind of pay for that out of pocket. Often the homestay families are generous, but we don't want to, rely on that, obviously. The students should have the money prepared to have fun with the homestay families when they're there. If you lose your IC card, then you're going to be responsible for that day's remaining, and any additional travel for that one day that you've lost it, and then purchasing a new card, which is about a $5 fee. You might have to pay for some luggage fees depending on the airline. That's something that's a little bit hard for us to be sure of in every given case. If you do have to do that, please just pay for it on the day, keep the receipt, those can be reimbursed later. And then personal expenses such as internet fees, postage, if you want to send a letter when you're there, excess luggage fees, souvenirs, medical, dental, hospital bills, that kind of thing. Now I did want to touch back on something that we've mentioned a couple of times here, the Ronin option, so unaffiliated students. Like we were saying, I know that this year it might be difficult for your school administration to agree to a trip like this. They might just be unable to approve of something like this. But say you've got 2 or 3 students, or even just one student who they would really benefit from it, they really want to go, and you want to find some way to make it work, you can have them contact us directly and join the trip unaffiliated. We'll give them, we'll put them with another group, so they will still have a chaperone, or possibly Laurasian staff could kind of be the chaperone if we've got a larger group that we have of just unaffiliated students alone. And they get to have the full experience of the program while you are still back in the United States, and the school is not worried about you, bringing a bunch of kids over to Japan right now. It's all the program advocacy without any of the work for you. You just have them contact us, we sign them up, we take care of it from there. Just have them contact us. I do want to say, I realize that with the slightly higher cost associated with the unaffiliated Ronin option, it's not necessarily going to be an option for everybody, but for the students that it is available for, we absolutely recommend that you talk to your students about that and have them contact us. I think it's a good way to get your students over there if you are unable to join the program with us. I believe I'm throwing to Sam at this point then to talk a little bit more about that application process.
Yeah, so whether or not you are going to be recommending students to join as a Ronin, unaffiliated, or if you're planning to bring a group yourself, the application process, like I mentioned, is a little bit different with the new application portal. That's set to go live on October 15th. So if you've worked with us before, which it sounds like all of you have, you'll probably be receiving an email from us on that day with the link to sign up. If you were a deferred group, so if you had been planning to travel during 2020 and your trip was deferred to 2021, all of your application information and payment information has been ported onto that new web portal. There are a couple places where, students haven't submitted their passport yet, or, we were missing maybe some like details about allergies, for instance. Some of that may still need to be filled in, but all of the information that we have received from you from last year was able to be ported straight into this new portal. And like I said, this will be the link to use for everyone, whether you are a teacher, a chaperone, or a student. More information about that will be sent out along with the link on October 15th. After that, the sort of process is the same as it has been in previous years, where all participants, students, and legal guardians will sign letters of understanding that can be downloaded from that new website. But this part will still be done in hard copy. So the lead teacher will be responsible for collecting those letters of understanding, the physical signed versions of those, as well as the students' 395 deposits. And send all of that to the Laurasian office in Seattle. Scholarship results will be announced mid to late February. So again, we're working with a little bit of a delayed timeline here. And that includes the cancellation fees schedule. For those of you who have seen that in previous years, the dates for those will be later. And just to note, the final full refund cancellation date is February 28th. And as Gabe mentioned at the very beginning, if at any point Laurasian needs to cancel the program, all program fees received up to that point will be refundable. And that's even past February 28th at any point in time. So if you have any questions about that, please let us know. The best way to reach us actually is to follow us on social media and our website. The link to the new web portal will be posted there on October 15th as well. I just posted in the chat all of the links to our social media accounts. You'll notice that we have some of you may be already following us, but we have a new Instagram page. It's just getting started, and we're excited to keep adding to that and make further announcements about the program on that platform, as well as on the current Facebook page and our website. And so with that, I think we're going to get to, oops, sorry, one moment here. Yeah, probably everyone's got some questions for us. So,
and we have questions for you. Like I said at the beginning, our big question is, what can we do to help your school administrations, the families, the students themselves to sign up for this program this year? I know it's a challenging year, and nobody knows better than you, the teachers, what everybody's going to need on your end to make something like this possible. So if you could maybe let us know what are your needs at this time. We want to try to meet those needs and make this work for you. So we don't have to sell the idea of going to Japan to you. Japan has done that work for us already. I know you're all eager to get back. We want to help you to make that possible. So at this point, if you want to share with us any kind of specific concerns or suggestions or anything that you think could help us to make this problem work or make this program work for you, we'd love to hear it. But any other questions that you have for us about contingencies or anything like that, we'll do our best to answer that at this time. So with that, let's open it up. Anybody have any questions for us?
Can I start?
Please do.
Okay, I'm sorry. I got tons of questions. I'm sorry.
It's fine. It's fine.
I'm Japanese, so I have to say I'm sorry to begin with. Yes, I did apply last summer, so some of my students are still remaining participants. I don't know exactly how many, but as far as I know, I think there may be 4, but one is already a college student, so he's kind of pending, I believe. But anyway, my 3 high school senior students are still in, and they're very looking forward to. I don't know where to begin. I have almost 10 lists of questions. One thing maybe I can tell you first is my school district superintendent, he banned completely all the international trips, including Japan, Italy, everywhere a couple of years ago. That's the reason I actually moved to NPJ. Until then, I took my students to Japan every single year, last 20-something years. So, and I took NPJ last maybe 3 times in the past as well. So I know this program is fantastic, and that's the reason I joined. So I guess teachers' liability issue is the key to me to participate, because my school district is not, how do I say it? They say it's all on my shoulder. So it's a very risky private business to me, but I still like to take my students. So that's the only thing I could just ask you, right? One of my questions is, what if any student got COVID-19 after the due date? Final date is, what is that? February 28th? Is that
That's the final full refund cancellation date, correct?
Right. What if they got sick afterward? What's the cancellation policy?
Right. That's a good question. So after that point, there would be some expenses we could not get back. And so we would give back as much as we could, obviously, to the student, because it's not their fault that they had COVID. At the same time, there are certain expenses at that point, regardless of what the situation is, even if the student suddenly, let's say, had cancer separate from COVID-19, the reality would be that there would be certain expenses we would have already had to pay for. We'd only get part of the money for the airfare back, for example. We'd have certain deposits for certain hotels we would only get back. But it would still be a substantial amount of money that we would be able to return. It will depend upon the contracts that we end up signing with each of the vendors. So I can't give you an exact amount. But that would not be a cancellation on the part of the Laurasian institution. That'd be a cancellation on the part of the participant, but with special circumstances. And because of the special circumstances, we would do our best to get back as much of the money as possible for the student. We have had that happen before.
That language will be in the contract, right? When the parents sign, like
well, the language in the contract says that after that particular date, there is no refund, period. So this would be an exception. So you'd have to simply ask for an exception based upon the special circumstances that have occurred.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry, I don't want to keep talking. So if anybody else has a question, go ahead, please, because I still have so much.
That's okay, go on. You may answer everybody else's questions.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Let me see. Let's see. So last summer, my school was supposed to go Saga Prefecture. We were so looking forward to, are we going to the same place or probably not? Like a brand new choice.
Yeah, we don't know that at this point, unfortunately, because just as you've had to sort of figure things out for this semester on the side of the Japanese school, they're still kind of figuring things out for that. But we were going to start contacting all of the deferred teachers now that the fall semester has gotten started. We didn't want to pester you at the very beginning of the fall semester because I know it's been kind of a very busy transition into teaching this year. So yeah, we'll get in touch with you to sort of start sorting those details out between you and the host school very soon. But
I can add that I did go Meiwaku calls to all the schools last year as this was coming apart, and every school said that they were more than willing to take individuals again for the coming year, assuming that a year from then things would be fine. And so I think you should assume that we will be giving Saga the chance to do it again. We will hope that they will. And unless there's something internal that has changed there, the assumption based upon their comments to us at the time was that they would be willing in the future.
Sorry, I might be speaking too much, but the Saga Prefecture, they got the bad typhoon and all kind of damage around that time. So if we were there, we were exactly that season. So I don't know, is there any concern about those natural disaster in the July season? We were in the tour too.
Right.
And, yeah.
Well, as you know, we get especially typhoons and mostly in the southern regions, but elsewhere as well, regularly in Japan. Usually they don't hit as hard as they hit this past year. And we know that the weather has been changing. And so whether it's the U.S. hurricane season or whether it's Japan's typhoon season, everything seems to be getting more serious in recent years. So there's always a concern, but we're certainly not we don't believe that any of this is predictable in any case. It's not like it's not like we're going to a particular place where we know that in this particular month that, you know, everything happens and we choose to go in that month. So it's totally unpredictable. Anytime we've had a situation like this, whether it's on the Laurasian side or on the PAX side, we have huge number of kids from all around the world who go to Houston every year on our PAX program. Houston gets hit with something every single year. That's a known event that there can be something, and frankly it bonds the families. The kids get to do volunteer work afterwards and help clean up the streets. So it turns out to be a plus in general, and the families just take precautions. And if it turned out that there was something like this that we knew was coming to Japan, especially in the Kyushu area, we would quickly go about making sure that everybody was accounted for and that we were tracking everything and make sure that people are taking the right decisions.
Thank you. I have 2 more questions. I do have 4 students still remaining. And like I said, they already applied and some of them got scholarships, some of them didn't. Are they able to, are they allowed to apply for scholarship again because of this COVID-19? Some of the parents might have lost a job or lost the income. So can they apply again?
They will go through the normal process of application for scholarships this year, just like in any year.
Mm-hmm.
So if a student did not apply last year and did not already receive something, then they can certainly apply this year. If last year they applied and already received something, then that will hold over into the coming year. So they do not necessarily need to apply again.
Okay, that includes $300 something, what do I call it, a stipend?
Well, so that's separate. That's for those who have deferred to the coming year.
Right.
So they don't need to apply for that. We will address that automatically for any student who deferred.
Thank you. My last question is, would you be able to share this slide you showed us tonight?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Yes. Okay, great. Thank you so much.
No problem. No problem. Does anybody else have any questions now, or did she ask all the questions that there were?
I will mute myself.
No, please continue to join in the conversation. I'm kind of just playing, but Michelle?
If they were still COVID testing upon arrival and the trip happens and we go and they're still, what would happen if a student tested positive at the airport? Whose responsibility would it be to fly them home? Where would the financial responsibility?
Yeah, so we'll have to see what the rules are at that time. But right now the rules are that if you arrive and you test positive for COVID, then you're not allowed to fly home. You have to go into a 14-day quarantine and be monitored by doctors every day. You got the rest of the group. I don't know how they will deal with that exactly. That's a question.
I'm gonna leave a kid there. Goodbye.
But my understanding so far is that when someone tests positive, even if they came off a plane with 100 other people, if the other 100 people do not test positive, then they're allowing the rest of the plane to depart and go right into right into Japan like normal. They're only holding those who actually test positive. So, but that's a disclaimer for what's going on right now. It's in the 3 trips I've done, there have been 3 different rules. They keep changing it. So the processes are different each time. And I suspect that by the time we go, the process will have changed several times. And so we should not assume that what we know now is what we will know then. But I can just so that you understand what the process is right now, we would kind of Mendosuru for the students who end up in any kind of hotel situation, and the rest of the group would go on to the rest of their trip, and then we would make sure that the kids either were able to rejoin the group at the end or be sent on separately, depending upon what the rules are at the time. But more than likely, they would have to stay for the full 14-day period. Although increasingly they're talking in different numbers, depending which government you're talking to.
And then if we got symptoms and tested positive during the trip, would that then fall to the insurance for any medical bills? And also, I know we couldn't evacuate, but quarantine wherever we're located?
Right. So this is you remember that at the beginning, one of the issues was that insurance is done on an individualized basis. So it would depend entirely on the insurance of the family at home to do that. Obviously, these days, I don't know if it's universal, but practically all insurance has automatically added a COVID rider to the insurances that allow them. It would be important for the families to make sure that they either have that in place for their student when they go, or that they buy some kind of supplemental insurance that would ensure that that is possible. And either are possibilities. It just depends upon the particular insurance of the family at home. And just so you understand, the reason why we do it that way is because in the beginning, we used to have everyone on the same insurance. But many schools, for example, said that they would prefer that parents were able to be on insurance that covered them at whatever rate it was that family had and wanted. And so if they wanted to be able to ensure that they had $1 million of coverage or whatever, then they could ensure that they had $1 million of coverage rather than the travel insurance, which maybe is $150,000 or $250,000. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions? David, you look like you have something for us, no?
Yeah.
No, I mean, if for me, it's just, this is what I needed. The questions, the two ladies were really helpful, and yeah, since school started, a lot of the kids have been, what's happening? What's the word? I'm like, just be patient. I mean, we're still, I mean, we're not even in school. We're in Zoom. So, even if we can't go tomorrow, but just be patient. And now this is great. So I just wanted to thank you guys for the presentation. And we have a lot of information that we can now share with both the kids who deferred and maybe other ones who want to join. And yeah, this has been great.
Now he's got Jesus Christ Superstar going in my head.
What's that?
Because what's the buzz? Tell me what's happening.
What's the buzz? Tell me what's happening.
I'm really glad that reference happened while we were recording this.
Yeah, we have it on record too. That is a good point. Yeah, if there's anything that you want to share with us right now that we could do to help this, become easier for your school administrations, please let us know. It's, like I said, a challenging time, and nobody knows the situation better than you, the teachers. So, does anybody have anything they want to share with us as far as sort of things that they would like to see represented on the program or anything along those lines?
Actually, maybe one comment, follow up on Uchiyama Sensei's note about liability insurance. I think, frankly, that's one of the biggest issues for a lot of school districts. They want to know that there's a proper liability insurance in place, that it doesn't fall back to the school, at least not as primary. And I'm sure the teachers themselves also want the same thing. And I can reassure you that the Laurasian Institution, we have broad liability insurance that will cover all incidents that go on during the tour. It does not, of course, cover you in case of some kind of misconduct, but it does protect the organization. It would protect your school, and it would protect you in the event that a student does something stupid, or that something happens out in public that none of us have any control over. But of course, we always have to, take care about our own behavior. And so, if David decided to paddle somebody, that wouldn't necessarily cover. He's so brutal sometimes. Anything else from anybody?
I'm sorry, one more thing. So the online application portal, you said, I believe Samantha said it will be open after October 15th. So
10,
the
15,
teachers
20.
can
10,
also
15,
access and
2020.
see.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So
After
yeah.
October.
Yeah, and like I said, since all of you, I think most of you have, 2 of you have deferred for next year, and the rest you were traveled with us before. We'll be sending dedicated emails out to everyone with that link so that you can access. For those of you who have deferred, you'll have a bit of a separate thing since we've already created those applications for you based on last year's information. So yeah, October 15th, so 10, 15, 20, as Gabe said, is when that will go live.
Okay. Yeah, since I don't have 8 students anymore, so I have to recruit a few more students.
Sure.
Otherwise, I'll be happy to have learning people. So.
Yeah. Well, one of the benefits, silver linings, if you will, of the COVID situation is that it's given our organization some breathing room to get some administrative stuff done, to work on websites, to do some things like that, because we were not in the midst of so many student issues and so on. Because during the normal year, we might have about 1,000 students in the United States at any one time, and this year we only have 245, 247, something like that. And so it's given us a good amount of time to be able to focus on other items that have probably been some deferred maintenance, if you will.
Yeah, we're pretty happy about that new portal, and yeah, we'll definitely be in touch with you, especially the deferred teachers, about kind of the information that we already have on there and what we'll need to do kind of moving forward with the applications that are on there. But yeah, not until 10, 15, 20. Well, we have hit an hour, which is kind of what we were going for the length of this thing. I just want to thank everybody very much for joining us and giving us this opportunity to actually kind of share this information with you. I really do hope that it was helpful. I think I will go ahead and stop the recording and kind of formally end it now. But if anybody does have any other additional questions or comments, we can stick around for just a little bit longer right here in the room. But we will kind of formally bring it to a close right now. Bradley, do you have any final thoughts or anything before we kind of wrap
I'm
this
just
up?
looking forward to hearing David's voice at some point in the future.
Nope, he's staying muted. Oh,
Hey, I was gonna say, hey, you got my number now. You can call anytime.
Like every day. No, you can.
Call me from New York. Call me from Tokyo. Call me from Washington D.C.
There you go. All right. Thank you so much, everybody.
This will be the 20th anniversary for Marina.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow, yeah.
This is a big year for Marina. Congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you.
We love having you guys. It's been great.
Okay, well, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap this up. I'll end the recording now, but thank you very much, everyone. We really appreciate you joining us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.